Bitcoin is about to close August in the reds, and guess what? Next month of September is usually one of the worst months for Bitcoin. So today, guys, I need to talk about whether we should be worried about this. I'm gonna give you an update on a couple of different charts. We do have something big coming up, and we also do have something big here in terms of the on-chain charts and what we can expect moving forward, guys. So make sure to stick around from the beginning until the end of this video. Welcome back, everybody. My name is Chris, bringing you cryptocurrency videos every day, teaching you how to make money in this market. If you are new to the channel, then make sure to subscribe and activate the bell right now. And what can we see for Bitcoin? Yesterday, we did have another pullback. You can see that once again, my orange box is holding up the Bitcoin price right here. So after this pullback, we did have a bounce, and now we find ourselves above this orange line at $59,000. Now, there's a couple of things to take note of here. First, the previous drops we had into the orange box was just a wick, and then immediately the bulls stepped in and we immediately pumped towards the upside. With this one, it was different because this actually had a candle closing closer to the edge of the orange box here. So you can see that we actually did have a close of the red candle just above the orange box. So this means that the market looks like it is getting weaker and weaker here, and the bears are taking on the shorter time frames. The bears are taking more and more control here. So this is definitely something we need to keep our eyes on. And that is in addition to the fact that we are once again below the key levels of resistance. So once again, this one, we failed to break through it yesterday, and we're still below it. We're below the very important moving averages. You can see here 50, 200, 100-day moving average, still below them. And also, if you look at just the trend overall, here on the daily time frame, you can see that we have, of course, the trend of making lower highs and lower lows. So the bearish short-term trend is still intact here, guys. So we need to see a breakout from these patterns. So first this one, and then you have obviously, if we could clear this orange box up here at 63,500, that would be very, very well. And it is a shame because we started to break through many bearish patterns a few days ago when we went up here to 64. But then you had that on-chain resistance. So if you haven't watched my videos, I think it was like 3 days ago, I talked about the reason why we got rejected at this point, because this is the point in which the short-term holders, meaning all of the Bitcoin wallets that have been accumulating in the last 6 months, what is their average price? And their average price is actually $64,000. So that meant that, or just above $64,000, here's $64,400. So that meant that once we went up here and they were at break even, they closed their trades at break even, they didn't make a loss. And yeah, that is the reason why we didn't manage to break through this point and we started to go down. Also, if you look at something like this pattern right here, this is one of the key things that is in the short term. Well, this is on the daily time frame, but still this pattern is one of those that can actually lead into a breakout and us going into more bullish momentum here. So this is probably going to take another 10 days for us to break out. We will see, but you can see that we are right now meeting the support on the lower end here. So let's look at that as well. I will keep you updated for this, but just know that we do have this upwards trend line right here and this downward sloping down here as well. So let's see if this can form, consolidate more, and then eventually see that breakout. Now, the interesting thing here is that traditional markets are actually doing really, really well. For traditional markets, we're only, what is this? We're only 1% from a previous all-time high, which is kind of absurd because Bitcoin is so far from its previous all-time high at 74, right? So I think that it is only a matter of Bitcoin catching up eventually. But if we look at something like the monthly time frame, I really want to show you the difference here on how the traditional markets have been outperforming Bitcoin. So if you look at Bitcoin on the monthly time frame, what has happened there is that since we went up and made this all-time high at $74,000, we have had consolidation and just really nothing has happened here. And if you remember here in March, I said that during the summer, during the spring, I do think that Bitcoin is going to do absolutely nothing. And I think that altcoins are going to bleed, they're going to go down, but that Bitcoin is going to go sideways here. And that is exactly what happened. But what I did say also is towards the end of the summer, I think that we're going to start to go up. So that would be right about now. So let's see if that is going to be correct. But So far, we have gone sideways. And if you look at our previous all-time high, then the pullback sideways, and then you compare that to the traditional markets, who really for the last few months have been seeing some crazy pumps towards the upside, that paints a picture that either Bitcoin is going to start to outperform the traditional markets. I think that that is the case. It's only a matter of time. Or do you think that Bitcoin is going to continue to underperform the traditional markets? I don't think so. I think that Bitcoin at some point is going to start to overperform the traditional markets, because this is typically what we see in every major bull market, when the risk appetite gets there again, because now people are still worried about recessions, they're still worried about all of these things. But once that is out of the way, I do think that when we have more liquidity in the market and more risk appetite, then Bitcoin and crypto is going to go absolutely nuts. And I do have a chart I want to show you here later on today, actually suggesting that that could be sooner rather than later. Now, what I also wanted to show you is, just like I said in the intro, August closed, or well, we will see where it's going to close today. But if it were to close right now, it would close at minus 8%. So that is about in line with what August on the median actually delivers. So minus 8% on the median here in August. Now, September typically is also a pretty bad month for September, but then you have October being very bullish, November, December. So now everyone are talking about September being a potential bad month for Bitcoin. So maybe, and then of course they know that October, November, December tends to be very good months. In fact, if you look at the quarter, the last quarter, Q4, typically leads into the most explosive gains of median 56% on average, almost 90%. So if you compare that to the previous quarters, you can see that quarter 4 tends to be the most insane quarter. So if we think about that, well, what would the traders, if they were to expect this again, what would traders do? Well, they would sell in September, or they would sell right now, in fact, and then they would start to get in again in October. So that suggests, if the market is really going to do that, that suggests that maybe this time it's going to be different. So we will see if you're going to have the same seasonality. But just because everyone are talking about September being bearish and the rest of the months being bullish, maybe you're going to see something different. Maybe you're going to see a little bit of a pump in September, and maybe the quarter 4 is not going to be as explosive as we think. But my thesis, as you know, guys, I've been saying that towards the end of the summer, I do think we're going to start to go up. So my base case is still that quarter 4 is going to be bullish. But I just wanted to point that out, that that is something to also think about. Now, if you look at the Bitcoin hash rate compared to the Bitcoin price, we typically, when we bottom in the hash rate, we typically see a pump for Bitcoin in the months after. So this was a bottom in the hash rate, which is the mining power for Bitcoin. And this also coincided with Bitcoin going up very strongly after that. This was in 2017. And then you have here in 2020 hash rate bottoms. After that, Bitcoin goes up. And guess what? We're looking at something like a bottoming pattern here for the hash rate as well right now. So this also suggests more upside for Bitcoin. Now, what also suggests more upside for Bitcoin is if you look at the Bitcoin price and then you look at the liquidity index here. So this is the Chinese 10-year treasury yield, and it is compared to the M2 money supply liquidity. So what you can see here is that we have these cycles. When liquidity in general goes up in the markets, Bitcoin tends to go really, really hard towards the upside. So this is what I was talking about previously. We need more liquidity in the market. We need more money, like risk appetite in the market. And this chart paints the picture very, very well. Liquidity goes down, Bitcoin goes down. Top of the market, top of the liquidity. Bitcoin goes down. And then when you see the cycle start again, liquidity goes up, boom, and then you have another cycle for Bitcoin. So this is the Bitcoin price here above. And you can see how this correlates very, very well. And guess what? Right now, we are at the start of a new major liquidity cycle starting, right? So we know that the Fed are going to cut interest rates. We know that this is going to happen. The yields are going to go down. M2 money supply is going to increase. So that, if you look at this chart, it is very, very, very clear. And I think that this is one of the most important charts, the liquidity in the market. More liquidity, more risk appetite, Bitcoin going up to higher prices, altcoins absolutely exploding. So this is suggesting that, so that is all fine. This is why I'm not too worried about the short term for what's going to happen with Bitcoin here. Now, one thing I wanted to point out as well is that next month, you're going to have a lot of hearings in the US Senate. So there's going to be a lot of crypto related hearings. They're going to try to figure out legislation and stuff. So this is going to have also some impact on the price, obviously, whatever they talk about in these hearings. Yeah, just wanted to point that out, that you're going to see this happening in September as well. Gary Gensler is going to be involved, obviously. So yeah, that is also something to consider. Guys, that is what I got for you. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys in the next one.